Hello and welcome to the first of 3 bite-sized Tucker Stone insights on the subject of well-being. I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by global well-being leader Francine Watson. Francine's career has spanned human capital consulting, as well as significant in-house HR chief of staff roles, and her data-driven approach to driving cultural change that really prioritises well-being interventions is hugely impressive. Most recently, Francine has successfully evolved the global wellbeing strategy at Barclays Bank. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt. Thank you very much for having me sort of join and for giving us a bit of a platform to talk about well-being. I'm obviously really passionate about the topic. And I guess we were talking about what would be useful to cover off. And one of the things I thought that we could start off with was talking about the sort of the evolution of mental health strategies in large corporates and where are we today and really what might be awaiting us for the future.
No, that's fantastic. And I think to jump straight in, we should probably really set the context of this and understand why it's such a critical focus for all organisations. And so 2 recent statistics from Mental Health First Aid England really shine a light on this. And the first one is that poor mental health accounts for more than half of all work-related illnesses. And secondly, employees are reporting much more increased in workplace intensity and significant pressure. 55% of workers feeling that work is getting more intense and demanding, and 61% of workers saying that they actually feel exhausted at the end of most working days.
Yeah, and there's really sort of financial impacts for this as well, which are pretty staggering. So a study by Deloitte found that 40% of turnover costs in the UK are actually linked to mental health issues as well. So there's a sort of real set of commercial imperative to this piece as well.
Okay, so I think that which really brings it back, which is important as well. And so with that in mind, what would you say are the key takeaways that all organisations should certainly be considering to redress this?
Okay, so there's the way we sort of position it in my mind is kind of really in sort of these sort of 3 sort of distinct sections. So if you like, there's a lot of good work that lots of organizations have done already in this space. So obviously it's really important to tackle stigma, right? So it's a really important starting point because that's what's going to create that kind of inclusive environment where people are going to feel safe, they're going to feel supported to talk about the challenges that they're experiencing without any sort of fear, without sort of being concerned they're going to be sort of judged somehow or discriminated against. And this is where campaigns are really strong. So campaigns such as This Is Me were really, really helpful in terms of bringing that to life. It's not going to be in sort of its 10th year. And there's national observance days. For example, there's Mental Health Awareness Weeks in May. There's World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October. And those observance days are really, really fantastic opportunities to kind of bring those campaigns to life.
Yeah.
The next piece of once you sort of address that stigma, it's then also talking about sort of awareness. So this is really around building capability. So building skills, like life skills, in spotting the signs of mental ill health, either in yourself or in others. And typically you'll do that through something like training, for example. And really that's going to help sort of normalize that conversation a little bit more. You might have workshops, you might have e-learning at scale.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be really kind of key for people to help sort of identify when they might need help themselves and sort of reach out for the support, because the earlier that you get that support, the better it is, and that someone might also be able to kind of spot that in you.
Yeah.
But that makes sense as a kind of good
No, it does, and you're right. I see that as a sort of baseline that most organisations either have in place or are certainly moving toward having in place. So I guess the next level is really how can an organisation be confident that it's offering the right support to its employees?
Yeah, and I think that's some of the things that we've kind of sort of also seen is actually once you sort of built that capability and sort of tackling stigma and sort of spotting the signs, there's the next sort of barrier, if you like, or hurdle to kind of cross, which is really how do you feel confident having a supportive conversation and signposting people to that source of support in the right way, in the sort of appropriate way, right? So there's kind of key here is really around things like listening skills, demonstrating empathy, kind of being able to kind of question, sit with the discomfort of perhaps a disclosure, and then kind of respectfully trying to sort of encourage people to think about perhaps contacting the EAP or making use of some of the sort of well-being provisions and support that might be available. And it's really about holding that space for that supportive conversation, and really feeling comfortable to sort of signpost to that support. And again, it really helps to be able to sort of see what that looks like. So here it might be that you embed some sort of video into your e-learning, that you might have some conversation planners within your training that helps people to kind of give them some suggested scripts or openers, etc., to kind of start the conversation. Now, it doesn't have to be word perfect, but it gives people a bit of an idea of what that supportive piece could look like.
No, absolutely. And then I know you and I were talking about actually organizations and promoting resilience within the organization. So would you be able to sort of highlight that a little further for us?
Yes, I think that's kind of really, if you like, I sort of see this as the kind of the next stage in the sort of the mental health kind of journey for large corporates. And it's really more of a cultural angle really here. So it's around how do you create a culture that's going to value learning, adaptability, that kind of personal growth, because that's what's really going to contribute to that supportive environment. And that's what's going to kind of help people to feel empowered to prioritize their mental health, and to really sort of seek help when that's needed. And really that kind of, what kind of cool sort of idea, sort of cultivating resilience, that growth mindset, that might be through training, it might be through coaching, and it might also be through that critical relationship between a colleague and their manager or a colleague and their team, because it's really how as a team or within your sort of work unit, you can really navigate those challenges effectively and have those kind of much more honest conversations around how you can really perform at your best, how you can bounce back from setbacks, or how you can sort of recover after a period of intense work. And that's really what I think is going to be kind of the next level. And how I see the sort of working in practice is embedding things like resilience learning, this idea of sort of growth mindset, maybe sort of perhaps sort of mental fitness into things like high potential development programs. Once someone's been sort of newly promoted, thinking about that aspect about how they might handle their resilience or their extra sort of responsibility. So those are kind of some thoughts of what I think might be lying ahead for us.
Great. So my takeaway from this is that for mental health well-being to be truly prioritized within an organization, there needs to be an authentic culture of psychological safety.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really sort of important, because that creates the right condition for someone to disclose that they're sort of struggling, and to sort of ask for help with their mental health, but also enables them to ask for support in a more proactive way before they experience that decline if they spot it in themselves. So that's absolutely key.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Francine, thank you. Much to reflect on. We invite our viewers as well to share any thoughts and ask any specific questions in the comment section below, and also to stay tuned for episode 2, where we'll discuss how organisations can effectively measure the impact of its wellbeing programme. So thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.